Everybody knows you need an ID for practically every adult behavior of significance. Buying a car, buying a gun, getting on a plane, opening a bank account, buying a house, going to the bank, and on and on and on. Except Merrick Garland, our brilliant, not Attorney General, says ID for voting is burdensome and unnecessary. So anybody can vote. Doesn't matter who you are. You shouldn't have to show ID except for every other adult activity you do. Sound dumb? Will Johnson, here's a doozy for you. In the United States, if you want to get on a plane, you need ID. You want to buy a gun? You need ID. You want to open a bank account? ID. Social Security card? ID. Pick up a registered letter at the post office? ID. But the most important right you have as an American, man or woman, is to vote. Who rules you? And Merrick Garland, in his infinite genius, he's our Attorney General, has decided, voter ID, it's a burden. We don't need it. Nobody lies. Let everybody vote. He says the right to vote is under attack in America because they ask you for ID. Is that insane or just communist?
Both. I think it's both. Barry, you have to have an ID to go buy liquor. You have to have an ID to go get a house loan. You have to have an ID to purchase a vehicle. You have to have an ID to do everything in this country. But you don't need an ID to vote. Now, we know why they don't want people to have IDs, and it's convenient, right? It's the year 2024. We got to get rid of this whole voter ID thing because there's people that need to vote that don't have IDs, Barry. That's the reason why they're doing this. And I think the reason why they're doing it because they want us to concentrate and to focus on the people that's coming into the country illegally. They want us to concentrate on them voting, Barry. They want us to constantly talk about them voting. But there's a more sinister reason why they're bringing all the people in is because they want them to be counted in the census report. And if you count the bodies in the census report, they get more electoral college. So it's like a double win for them. If they can bring more bodies in to count for the census report to add up for the electoral college, and if they can possibly get it to do away with the voter ID, then it's a sure win for them. Sure win.
All they need is a couple million votes. Biden only won by 45,000 strategic votes spread over 6 states. Can you imagine what 3 million would do? It would be a landslide. Literally a landslide. My goodness.
Yes. 3 million. I mean, it's probably even more than that. I think you're just being kind of generous about that number.
Oh my goodness. I mean, when you look at the idea that what he's saying is, I think, brutally insane, that voting rights have been under attack for generations. And he's talking about the civil rights movement and how Black Americans were denied. He said the significant majorities of Democrat, Black, Latino, and low-income voters are kept away from the polls. And yet, here's a new poll for you. This is a political poll, not a voting poll. The majority of Black, Latino, and low-income voters want voter ID. Remember last year we used to talk about this, that Black people were not smart enough to get IDs.
And according to Joe Biden.
Right. And they had reporters out on the street going in like Harlem, Black people being interviewed. Excuse me, are you able to get an ID? Yeah. Why? Is it a burden? No. Well, how'd you do it? I just went into the DMV and got it. What do you need it for? For banking, for liquor, for cigarettes, for, opening bank account, and they made a list. They weren't too stupid, as Joe Biden said, right? They can use the internet, unlike what Joe Biden said. It's the most insulting, racially insensitive commentary I can remember, where a whole class of people are just stupid. And that's why there should be no voter ID. And yet when you interview those stupid people, they say, yay, voter ID keeps the bad people from voting. So who is it that really they want to vote? The illegals?
Yeah. 100%. They want them to vote. Barry, I've been to some of these events that's held by a group of people on the left. I mean, I'm gonna have to call it out for what it is. I mean, that's the truth of it. And they're saying that voter suppression is happening in the black community to black people. And I'm asking them, I said, well, where are these black people? Can I talk to them? Because you notice they're constantly saying that voter suppression is happening in the black community, but they never produce any videos of black people say, yeah, I went and voted, Barry, and they wouldn't let me in their vote. They said, well, you're black, you can't vote. No one's ever come out and said that. But yet they keep saying that there's voter suppression for black people in the black neighborhood. Or they'll say, well, they didn't have enough polls open for black people to go vote at. Really? Because everybody, all the other white people in those same locations, they were able to vote, just not the black people. Why is that?
Well, you know what? 60 years ago, those comments, sad to say, were true. That was Jim Crow America. That's not the way America is. We elected a black president twice.
Yeah. You know what it is, Barry? It's part of their playbook. Remember Russia, right? That came in 2016. Now it's a part of their playbook. They're saying it's happening again. Russia's interfering. It's part of the playbook. Calling Republicans white supremacists, the KKK. That's part of the playbook. During that time, when the Democrats were preventing black people from voting, like you just said, was 100% true, they leave out the part that it was the Democrats doing it. They're just saying now they're just regurgitating the same thing that's in the playbook. They don't care what year it is. They don't care that it's not happening. They're just using the verbiage that's in the playbook.
Here's the numbers. 80%, this is the polling by the Heritage Foundation. 80% of Americans are demanding voter ID. 80%, more than 60% of Democrats. 77% of Hispanics want voter ID. 76% of low-income voters want ID, and 64% of black voters insist on voter ID. Who are these people? I know who it is. It's the left that wants to register people to vote that aren't Americans. They're Hondurans, they're El Salvadorians, they're Mexicans, they're Iranians, they're Chinese. You know the story. And then they're going to tell them how to vote. In fact, Juan, you don't even have to go vote. I'll just take your ballot and I'll collect it for you, and I'll turn it in, amigo. Here's a gift card at Starbucks. That sound about what's going to happen?
Oh, 100%. The ballot harvesting, that's exactly what it is. But you know, interesting, made me think about, Barry, the new co-chairwoman of the RNC said maybe we need to look into ballot harvesting. And now that the RNC is going to look into ballot harvesting, I'm pretty sure that the Democrats are going to probably come out at some point and say, no, you can't do ballot harvesting, especially if it starts panning out the way that they don't want. Talking about the Democrats, if it starts working for the Republicans because they're doing ballot, hey, if you're doing it, you're saying it's okay for everybody else to do it. It shouldn't be allowed at all.
Let me ask you one question before we move on. In the last election, Florida, one of the biggest states in America, had every single ballot counted on election night. No overnight turn-ins of harvested ballots. They counted all the ballots on the first day. Pennsylvania couldn't do it last time. Michigan couldn't do it. Georgia couldn't do it. Arizona couldn't do it. And all those numbers in all those states flipped in the middle of the night when the polls were closed and the polling stations had been locked up. Nothing to see here, Will Johnson. Look away, walk away. Right?
Yeah. Well, they had to do that, Barry, until they got the numbers that they were looking for. But you're not supposed to acknowledge that. Not supposed to acknowledge. You know, there was one other place in the world that happened that I'm aware of. I'm pretty sure it happened in other places, but the one place that I'm aware of, and the only reason why I'm aware of it, because CNN actually did a report on it, and that was in Venezuela. Venezuela did the same thing. The person was winning, but all of a sudden they had to shut down all the poll stations. And then when everyone said, okay, it's all done, they shut them down. When they came back up, oh, the other person was winning. And no one, they were like, what in the world has happened? And look at Venezuela today. The result of that taking place is why Venezuela is in the condition that it's in right now. And then it turned around and did the same thing. And CNN, they did the report about Venezuela and how wrong it was. But now they grow amnesia and can't remember that they actually did the report on it. I have a copy of the report with them doing it.
No argument, friend.